a glimpse into her world. Sami Sheen, daughter of Charlie Sheen and Denise Richards, has lived her entire life in the Hollywood spotlight. At 21, she's chosen her own path as an online creator and OnlyFans model, stepping out from her parents' shadows. Her choices have sparked public debate, but Sami is determined to live life on her own terms. Yet, behind the fame, she's just a young woman navigating the same unpredictable world as anyone else. One ordinary night out would remind her, and all of us, how quickly things can turn from safe to terrifying. It was a typical warm night in Los Angeles. After a late dinner, Sami and her friend lingered in the restaurant parking lot, snapping photos and laughing. For a few minutes, they were just two friends enjoying the city lights. But as they posed for pictures, they were unaware that someone was watching. The sense of safety in a familiar place can be deceptive. In an instant, their carefree night would shift into something far more sinister. What began as fun was about to become a lesson in vigilance and instinct. The first sign that something was off came when a man approached Sami and her friend on a busy city street, asking for money. At first glance, it seemed like a simple request, one that many people encounter in urban areas every day. The man's tone was casual, almost friendly, and for a moment it felt like just another fleeting interaction with a stranger. Sami, not wanting to be rude, politely declined, expecting the conversation to end there. She offered a gentle smile and a soft, "Sorry, I can't help," hoping that would be enough. Her friend stood by, quietly supportive, both of them assuming the man would simply move on. But instead of leaving, the man persisted. He quickly shifted tactics, pulling out his smartphone and suggesting they could send him money digitally, through apps like Venmo or Zelle. The request felt oddly rehearsed, as if he'd done this before. It was clear he wasn't going to take no for an answer so easily. His refusal to accept their polite decline was unsettling, a red flag that something wasn't right. Sami could feel her comfort slipping away, replaced by a growing sense of unease. The man's insistence made the situation feel less like a request for help and more like a subtle form of pressure. The conversation dragged on, with the man finding new ways to keep Sami and her friend engaged. He asked questions, made small talk, and lingered far longer than anyone would expect from a simple request for spare change. All the while, the two friends found themselves distracted, their attention pulled away from their surroundings. It became clear that this wasn't just about money. The man seemed to be testing their boundaries, seeing how far he could push before they would walk away. Sami and her friend exchanged wary glances, silently questioning the man's true intentions and wondering if they were overreacting. While Sami tried to maintain her composure and stay polite, the unease in the air grew heavier. She forced a smile, but her nerves were on edge. Her friend's eyes darted around, searching for an exit from the uncomfortable situation. Looking back, it was obvious. The man wasn't just asking for help. He was a distraction, deliberately holding their attention and blocking their path. The longer he kept them engaged, the more trapped they felt, as if their personal space was slowly shrinking. When someone refuses to respect your boundaries or ignores your repeated no, it's a clear signal to be on high alert. Sami and her friend realized they needed to trust their instincts and remove themselves from the situation as quickly as possible. What started as a simple request for money was actually the beginning of a much more frightening encounter, one that would test their awareness, their boundaries, and their ability to stay safe in an unpredictable world. Suddenly, Sami felt a wave of dread. Her instincts screamed that something was wrong. The night air, once filled with laughter and the hum of city life, now seemed to press in around her, heavy and suffocating. Every shadow felt sharper, every sound more sinister. She tried to steady her breath, but her heart was pounding so loudly she wondered if others could hear it too. She glanced around, her eyes darting from face to face, and saw a second man standing silently next to her friend. He hadn't been there a moment ago. His sudden presence was jarring, as if he had materialized out of thin air, and he stood just a little too close, his posture tense and watchful. He had approached unnoticed while the first man kept them busy, blending into the background until the perfect moment. It was clear now that this wasn't a coincidence. The first man's friendly banter, the way he'd drawn their attention, had all been a calculated distraction. The realization was chilling. This was coordinated. Sammy's mind raced as she pieced together the sequence of events, understanding that these men had a plan, and she and her friend were at the center of it. Two men working together, one to distract, one to close in. Fear took over, icy and paralyzing. She could see it in her friend's eyes, too, the dawning horror, the silent plea for help. The streetlights above seemed dimmer, the world suddenly less familiar, less safe. Sammy's priority shifted instantly to getting her friend away. Every instinct screamed at her to move, to put distance between themselves and these men. She reached out, grabbing her friend's arm, her grip tight and urgent. She told her friend to move, her voice urgent, barely above a whisper, but filled with unmistakable urgency. There was no time to explain, no time to debate. They had to act, and they had to act now. This was no longer about being polite, it was about survival. Social niceties and the fear of seeming rude faded away, replaced by a primal need to escape. Sami ignored the looks, the expectations, and focused only on getting to safety. The illusion of safety was gone. The city, once a place of freedom and excitement, now felt like a maze of threats and hidden dangers. Sami realized how quickly things could change, how fragile that sense of security really was. In that moment, Sami knew they were in real danger. Every second counted. The world had narrowed to a single goal: get away, get safe, don't look back. The stakes had never been higher. Sami's courage was tested, and she knew that what happened next could change everything. The second man spoke in Spanish, adding confusion and fear. He reached into his pocket. Sami's heart raced, fearing the worst. It didn't matter what he pulled out. The threat was clear. Instinct took over. Sami reached for her pepper spray. Making it visible, she sent a message. "I'm not an easy target." The men hesitated, surprised by her readiness to defend herself. That split second was all Sami needed. She grabbed her friend's hand. There was no time for talk, only action. They ran, seizing the only chance they had to escape. Survival depended on trusting her gut and acting fast. With pepper spray clutched tightly in her hand, Sami and her friend broke into a desperate sprint across the dimly lit parking lot. Every footstep echoed with urgency, their breaths sharp in the cold night air. The world seemed to narrow to the space between them and the safety of their car. Adrenaline fueling their escape as they darted past pools of shadow and flickering streetlights. The threat behind them felt all too real, and every second counted. Fumbling with the keys, they finally yanked open the doors and tumbled inside, slamming them shut. Instinctively, they locked every door, hands shaking as they pressed the buttons. The car became a fragile barrier between them and the unknown danger outside. Their hearts hammered in their chests, the sound almost deafening in the sudden silence. For a moment they just sat there, gasping for breath, the shock of what had just happened settling in. Relief washed over them, but it was tinged with disbelief. They had narrowly escaped something terrible, and the reality of it was only beginning to sink in. Without a word, Sami started the engine and sped away, tires squealing as they left the parking lot behind. The men, the threat, the nightmare, they were all in the rear-view mirror now, but the sense of danger clung to them like a shadow. Every streetlight they passed cast long, eerie shadows across the dashboard. Sami's eyes flicked constantly to the rear-view mirror, half expecting to see headlights following them. The city outside seemed unfamiliar, transformed by fear into a maze of potential threats. Each turn, each stoplight brought a fresh wave of anxiety. Even as the distance grew between them and the parking lot, the fear refused to fade. It lingered in the air, heavy and suffocating. Trauma doesn't simply vanish when the immediate danger is gone. It lingers, leaving invisible scars that ache long after the moment has passed. In the quiet of the car, questions tumbled out. Why us? What did they want? Was there something they could have done differently? The uncertainty gnawed at them, making it impossible to relax. Every answer only led to more questions, and the fear of the unknown pressed in on all sides. Relief mingled with dread as they realized just how close they had come to disaster. The embrace they shared was shaky, a mix of gratitude and lingering terror. They were safe, but the memory of what almost happened would haunt them for a long time. Later, as they tried to piece together the night, a chilling discovery on Sami's phone sent a fresh wave of fear through them. Hidden among their photos was something they hadn't noticed before, evidence that confirmed their worst suspicions and made the threat feel even more real. The escape was only the beginning. Processing what had happened would take time, and the emotional aftermath was just as real as the physical danger they'd faced. They sat in silence, each lost in her own thoughts, trying to make sense of the ordeal. Sami's quick thinking and courage had saved them that night, but the story was far from over. The experience had changed them, leaving them more cautious, more aware, and forever marked by what they had survived. The evidence on their phone revealed just how calculated and deliberate the attack had been, turning their fear into a chilling certainty, and reminding them that sometimes the real danger is closer than you think. Safe at home, Sami scrolled through the photos from that night. In every shot, the second man was lurking in the background, watching, waiting. The danger had been present from the very start. This wasn't random, it was premeditated. The photos proved they'd been targeted and stalked. Her gut feeling was right. This was a coordinated attack. The images turned from happy memories to chilling evidence. Sami realized they'd narrowly escaped a planned predatory situation. The discovery pushed her to warn others about the hidden dangers that can lurk in plain sight. Determined to help others, Sami shared her story on TikTok. She recounted the ordeal, urging followers, especially young women, to trust their instincts. Her message was clear. Danger can come when you least expect it, and predators use sophisticated tactics. She admitted even she, someone vigilant, missed the warning signs. The response was overwhelming. Messages of support, shared stories, and practical safety tips flooded in. Sami's bravery turned her trauma into a public service announcement. Her story sparked vital conversations about awareness and self-protection. Sometimes, sharing your experience can help protect countless others. Sami Sheen's story is a powerful reminder. Trust your gut. Instinct is a survival tool. Don't ignore it even if you can't explain why. Situational awareness is crucial. Danger often hides in the ordinary. Predators use distraction. Always be aware of your surroundings. Being prepared, like carrying pepper spray, can make all the difference. Have a plan with friends. Leave if anyone feels unsafe. Preparation turns fear into action. Sami's courage in sharing her experience transforms fear into empowerment. We all have the power to protect ourselves and each other. Stay aware, be prepared, and always trust that inner voice.